everyone, I'm Kennoy with DecoArt. Have you ever had any ideas for clothing or maybe some household items but just couldn't find what you needed in the store? Well, I have, and Ink Effects is a great way to take any synthetic item and personalize it with your own design, like t-shirts, or the one I have on, placemats, napkins, aprons, you name it. So we're gonna have a lot of fun. It's really easy to create custom fabric pieces using Ink Effects with a simple application process. First tip, make sure you're using light colored objects. Your color's really going to pop on those. And you want to use something that's made out of mostly synthetic fibers. If you're going to use something that has a high cotton content, you want to use our Ink Effects Basecoat. This is going to allow it to really get those colors and grab onto it and allow this to dry for 45 minutes before you start. Let's get started having some fun with freehand designs. I'm going to show you how to make this scarf. Just take a simple scarf, probably got a couple extra laying around the house somewhere. Some white paper that you can probably find in your printer. It's like mine that has not been used in a long time. And this just really goes on very easily with a brush. You don't even really have to put this on a plate or anything. And make sure that when you're choosing your colors, you're using the dots on the top of the containers to be your guide for the color, because it's going to be very different what you see on your white paper versus what you see on the final. So I'm going to make a basic leaf design here, and I can go back and continue to add more. It's also great to layer, and the beauty about layering with Ink Effects, you don't have to wait till it dries to layer. You can come up with a lot of different color combinations by mixing. So you can really have a lot of fun. So I'm going to place that in there. Let's start our layering. All right. I'm going to go over this until I kind of get the desired look that I want. And then I'm going to go back over it and trim it in black to really make the leaf pop. And then we're going to let it dry for about 45 minutes before we iron it on. Well, my leaf is now dried. And if you look at the scarf I showed you earlier, it doesn't look anything like the same colors, right? Well, that's why you need to go by those dots that are on the top of your Ink Effects bottles. So we are going to lay this down, face down. Try to get that lined up. Get our iron. You want to iron this for 30 seconds. Now, I don't know about you, but if somebody took the time to make this for me, I'd be thoroughly impressed. There's something to be said for handmade gifts, or just taking something you can probably find in your closet and personalizing it for somebody versus just going out and buying something. So keep ironing. All right, make sure you're pressing down to really get that color on there. We are about ready. Big reveal. Voila! What a fabulous gift idea. Well, the possibilities are really endless when it comes to Ink Effects. You don't have to be an artist. You can take coloring book pages, scrapbooking paper, even images you print off your computer, and create some pretty amazing designs like we have here. All right, let's get started. We're going to take our Ink Effects. Again, make sure you're using the color dots on top as an idea of what color you're going to get, because this obviously does not look yellow. But we're going to have our little mermaid here have yellow hair, even though it's looking orange right now, but it will become yellow once we iron it on. One thing to mention when you're using images like this from a coloring book, the black lines that you see on your coloring book page, they're not going to transfer. So if you want that outline, you're going to have to go back and add that yourself. But I love using coloring books because they're cheap, affordable. You can find them at a dollar store. And your kids are going to have a blast too. All right, we're going to continue doing this. And then once we get finished, we're going to allow it to dry for 45 minutes. Well, my image has, dried here. I think it looks pretty good. We're going to place that down now. Just a quick note, if you are using a 100% cotton t-shirt, make sure that you're using the DecoArt Ink Effects base coat. We'd hate for you to spend all that time and effort making your drawing look pretty and then it not transfer well. So, all right, another key thing to think about when you're ironing, if this is a large design here we're working on, if you feel more comfortable, you could use a pressing cloth or a larger piece of paper over this. That way you would protect the garment itself from maybe getting some scorch marks or anything like that. If you feel confident, just keep the iron exactly on the piece of paper like I'm doing now. And make sure you're really pressing down on this to make sure the colors are transferring. And this is a larger piece, so I'm kind of doing about 30 seconds on each section to make sure that it's transferring well. We are almost done. You'll notice that my paper isn't slipping. Coloring book pages have a little bit of grip to themselves, as well as the shirt already does. But if you're using more of a slicker item, glossy, you might want to tape it down. That way you're not having your picture shift. All right, I think we are ready. There we go. After ironing your image, if you find that you have some lines like this, where you thought, like I did, that you could keep the iron on the piece of paper, well, don't fret. Don't toss your garment. We can fix it. Your work is not in vain. You can easily take another coloring book page, or if you can freehand it, and you can add something like we've done here, because this garment in particular, we had this exact same occurrence, and we went back and added a little bit of seaweed, so not all is lost. I love using ink effects to create that layered look that you're seeing a lot in the stores right now, like the example I've made here by using these two images. Now, I actually made my shirt using a splatter image and a crown. So you can really have a lot of fun with this. I'm going to create a t-shirt with a layered look using these two images that I've already painted and let dried, if you can actually call this painting. But I've got my splatter image here. Just to be safe, I'm going to use 2 extra pieces of copy paper to go over this, just to make sure we don't have any iron marks. All right, I'm just going to leave this down for about 10 to 15 seconds. And I'm going to do it in stages since this is a full page here. So. All right. Be careful removing your pieces of paper. They can get hot. All right, let's look. Woo! I love it. All right, so that's our bottom image. Now I'm going to take our little wings and stars that we have here. I'm going to place that right in the middle. I'm going to use those same exact pieces of paper that I used last time to protect the garment. Now this time we want to make sure that we leave the iron down for 30 seconds because we want this image to be a lot stronger. All right. Getting my workout in. Almost. All right. Whew. Are we ready? Now, isn't that wonderful? So, Let's take a look at this. If you wanted to, you could even go over and add some So Soft glitter and really spice it up. I'm going to show you how to use the Ink Effects designs that we create on just simple paper and make them repeat like we have here with this paisley design that turned out really well. So I used my stencil on just a regular piece of white copy paper to make this very cute little paisley design here. Now this is a satin pillowcase, so just a reminder here, definitely be careful. You don't want to have any scorch marks or anything. So I'm going to set that down, place a couple of pieces of paper over this. So we're going to iron this for about 30 seconds. Now, I would only recommend using this image up to 3 times. If you go over 3 times, you're going to lose that intensity unless you really want a faded image, and then have fun. Now, after we do this initial one, to get the same intensity of color on the second and third, you're going to need to almost double each time the length of time that you're ironing. If you want it to have a more faded, progressive look, then you can do it the same amount. So this first one we did 30 seconds. If we wanted to have the same intensity next, we do it for 60. If we didn't, we just do it for another 30. All right. There we go. And then we can just place that again. And now is the decision to have the same intensity or not. I think we'll go for the same intensity. There's only so much ink though. So again, I'd only recommend going 3 times. All right. We did this one for right at 60 seconds, so let's see how it looks. Looks perfect. Now, the exact same piece that I used here and there, I want this one to be a little bit more faint. So I'm only going to leave this one on for 30 seconds. Again, you could do this a 4th and 5th time, but it's going to continue to get lighter because there's only so much ink you can get on the paper. But if you're really wanting to have a fainted look, you can definitely use it more. All right. Ooh, papers get hot. And you can see it's getting lighter. When using ink effects and doing lettering, you want to make sure that you're using a mirror image, because if you iron it down and you're able to read it when you iron it down, it's going to be backwards. So we have a name here like we used on this bag, Hannah. I know. Hannah is very similar either way, just the ends are different. But you can tell that here the ends are backwards, and when we put it down on our bag and ironed it, you can now read it appropriately. So just remember to always do a mirror image. If you haven't tried using stencils with the Ink Effects line, it's just really super easy. Now, one thing I'm going to say, we've got our piece of paper here. I've got my stencil. I don't want the stencil to shift, so I'm actually going to tape this down using some painter's tape. You could use Scotch tape, whatever kind of tape you have around. Just going to do the top and the bottom. And I'm going to apply this with a sponge. I'm using black here because I want to create my custom napkins for my dining room like we have there. So again, always look at the top of the bottle. All right, I'm going to pour a little bit out here. Be careful not to put too much. I love this product too much to waste it. All right. And let's get started. Well, I removed the stencil and my image is dry, so we're getting ready to do that here on the napkins. Now, this is a little bit more of a delicate item, so I'm going to position this, and I'm going to use a couple of extra sheets of paper just to lay over this to make sure I don't get any scorch marks from my iron. You could also use a pressing cloth, old t-shirt if you wanted to. We just want to protect that image. All right, we're gonna press away for about 30 seconds. Just remember to keep that iron moving, good pressure, but we don't want any steam drops and coming through or anything like that. All right. All right, you can see already that there's no lines around that, so we've done a good job protecting our item. Here we go. And there you have it. Isn't that great?